Assalamu alaikum students. Today we will be learning about unit number 11, books and printing. Today's first topic is the written word, that how people began to write thousands of years ago and how it went through evolution, that is the change, that now we can see the modern writing. So as you can see, this is a timeline drawn on your book's page number 93. This timeline starts from 3500 BCE. Do you remember what's BCE? Yes, before Christ era. And this timeline reaches up to 1000 CE. Do you remember what's CE? Yes, Christ era. So, somewhere just after 3500 BCE, the writing started on clay from Mesopotamia, which is now Iraq. These people did the first writing we know about. So, from the clay, we now move on to 2000 BCE, the oldest writing from the Indus Valley carved on stone. And then, under the timeline, it reaches up to somewhere near 1250 BCE, where the ancient Egyptian writing on papyrus, a type of paper made from reeds. Basically, papyrus is a material similar to thick paper that was used in ancient times as a writing surface. It was made from the pith of the papyrus plant. So basically, a pith is the tissue or the spongy or soft part inside the papyrus plant. Then moving on to the timeline, after 500 BCE, we see the ancient Greek writing on a stone wall in Athens. Do you remember what's Athens? Yes, it's a city in Greece. Then we move on to the orange part of the timeline where the CE has started from the zero, and we see that somewhere near 250 CE we have the writing from China on paper. The Chinese invented paper in the 2nd century CE, and they were actually the very first people to invent the paper. Now moving along the CE timeline, we see after 750 CE a page written on paper in Baghdad, now in Iraq. So the writings began from the clay to the stones, then on papyrus, and then on the walls, and then finally on paper. Now next we will be studying about the evolution of books, that is how the books changed their form. At the beginning of the 15th century, the pages of expensive books were made from parchment. What is parchment? Parchment is a very thin calf, sheep or goat skin. In the first picture you can see the parchment pages, and in the second picture you can see the skin stretched to make the parchment. Hey, I know, it's very brutal, right? The covers of the book were made from leather, which is much thicker and tougher skin. Now the next you could see very fine quality parchment named vellum, which was used for special books. In the next picture you can see the quill pens from goose. Scribes copied books with quill pens. What are scribes? A scribe is a person who copies out documents, especially one employed to do this before printing was invented. And how do they make quill pens? Well, they cut the ends of the feathers to make them sharp, then dip them in the ink. Now in this slide you can see the carvings on stone from ancient Mesopotamia. They pressed the stone into clay to copy the pictures. I'm sure you all must have seen Play-Doh and played with it. So just like in Play-Doh, when you press the cutters and the shape appears on the Play-Doh, just like that, the Mesopotamia people, they pressed the stone into clay to copy the pictures. In the next picture, you could see a block cutter on a wood block. This is basically a European block cutter at work in the 15th century. And this picture is a print from a wood block. Interesting, right? Also, do you know paper making spread from China to the Islamic world in the 8th century? The first paper mill in Europe was in the Islamic part of Spain in the 11th century. Paper was made from linen and other cloth. It was used for cheaper books. Now let's have a throwback at what we have learned in this chapter up till now. The people began to write thousands of years ago. The Chinese invented paper in the 2nd century CE. Europeans did not make paper until hundreds of years later. Books were copied by hand using a quill pen and ink. People in ancient times used blocks with pictures and letters carved on them to print on soft clay. This marks the end of our topic. I hope you got the fair idea of how the printing started and how the books evolved over time. Now let us reach to the question and answers of this chapter. Now let us proceed to the question and answers of this chapter. The first question that you have to do is on your book's page number 93, which is the part A. You have to write the questions to those answers on your notebook. There are a total of 5 questions and you just have to write the short answers of those. Then next you have to proceed to page number 94 of your book, which is a crossword puzzle for you. There are 5 clues given for that crossword puzzle. You have to guess the answers from the book and from the slides. The letters in the shaded square spell the country where paper was invented. Well, that's easy. Now hurry along and start doing your questions. Thank you so much for watching. We'll continue this chapter in another video. Till then, Allah Hafiz.